I think I can do better than that. Hello and welcome. It is the first video of 2021 from yours truly. So let's talk about it, shall we? First of all, I don't think the intro is going to be like making a comeback. Jessica from Crocs in the Kitchen asked whether or not we could have the intro just for nostalgia's sake, and I thought, you know, while I'm at it, why not recut it a little bit? Because I've been meaning to do it for a while, and you know, like better camera footage and all that sort of thing. You know, I upgraded my phone, so I'm now recording in 1080p as opposed to 720, and I've got proper edit machine that will, you know, kick out videos in higher than 720p as well. So that's pretty good. But yeah, let's talk about the back end of 2019 and, you know, I suppose 2020 as well. So end of 2019, I had started not doing too well on the whole food plant-based diet thing, the way of eating, the adventure, as Brian calls it. Basically, I was getting very, very stressed. I mean, like extremely, extremely stressed. I was starting to engage in, you know, sort of having more days off plan than were on. Kind of lying to myself about it. There was even one or two occasions where, you know, I take photographs of everything that I eat and put them in the videos, and I started sort of becoming very, very lax about that, and in some cases actively, you know, not taking photographs because I thought it might be not great for people to see exactly how far off of everything that I was. I mean, we're not talking like bacon sandwiches every single day or anything like that. I mean, we're talking like, you know, I would have like chocolate and, you know, quite frankly, I was drinking, you know, like Coke Zero and stuff in such vast quantities that it was like, looking back on it and talking about it is actually kind of worrying. It was like 2 liters a day most days. You know, it wasn't good. On top of that, you know, just stress with like parenting and looking after my kid and trying to get him to places and you know, all of that, and I started sort of having these times where I would go completely off the rails, knowing that I shouldn't be doing something but then doing it anyway. We're talking like one of the biggest moments of you know, sort of like shame for me was like, I would have the best of intentions to go out and do stuff and be, you know, be as good as I could be, and I would get up really early, I would get ready, I would, you know, struggle to get my son up and ready on a morning, get him to the kindergarten, be late or like right on the cusp of being late, be stressed, and then just get hit with a wave of tiredness because my morning had been so hectic. And on the way back home from the kindergarten, there's a McDonald's. And one of my big weaknesses is, you know, McMuffins. So I would get some McMuffins. anywhere between 1 and 4 on the very, very, very worst days when I was particularly self-destructive. Now, with regards to that wasn't every single day, but it was, it was a very self-destructive tendency that started creeping in. I'd started lagging massively with the videos ever since, I had my gallbladder out. I was hospitalized for that. And then, I was nowhere near the goal that I'd set for myself. I sort of said, like, well, Penn Jillette lost 100 pounds in 100 days. I've got a year to get ready for my friend's wedding. That's like 100 pounds in 300 days, 365, 400, something ridiculous like that. I can't remember exactly what the timescale was. I think it was 300. And I was nowhere near my goal. I'd sort of like lost bits and then like had plateaus and then lost more and had more plateaus. And I just got on top of myself too much. I'd started like being so hard on myself for not making videos and not keeping up with things. And then there's, so much that's going on with just the world, like the George Floyd protests, the Black Lives Matter protests. I'd been on a break of making videos for a little while and decided I was gonna make videos again, and the day that I recorded a video was the day that George Floyd was murdered. And yeah, it wasn't my place to cast my voice out at that point, is how I felt. Like there were bigger things that needed to be given space and amplified. There still are today, especially in the wake of what happened 2 weeks ago on January 6th and all things like that. There's a lot that goes on in the world, and I wouldn't actually be making a video now if I hadn't talked to my therapist about it. That's another thing that started last year, actually. I finally sort of arranged to see a therapist. And have been speaking with an actual medical professional for a little while now. But anyway, we're starting to get ahead of ourselves, etc. 2019, I like everything was sort of going nutty. I decided that, I would go over for my friend's wedding. I would be there for them. I would record a whole bunch of videos about it. I would see if I could get like wedding photography sort of stuff, or like videos of the day and everything like that. And then the morning after I arrived there, I got word at 8 o'clock in the morning that my dad had had a massive heart attack in the middle of the night, died, and had been resuscitated after about 30 minutes. With his heart stopped, which, I've looked into it since. It's a thing that they call Lazarus syndrome. It's not entirely uncommon. Someone who is effectively dead, sometimes their heart just starts beating and they have a little bit more life. Completely, not going to have any quality of life or anything like that. But essentially that had happened, and trying to get updates and deal with that, knowing full well that I couldn't do anything about it, while trying to be excited and give my friend the best time that I had to give, because it was his wedding. Kerry is one of my greatest friends of the last God, how long? 10 years easily. I know I met him within the last 10 years, but anyway. Giving him and his now wife, Rosie, the best that I could at the time. That was my priority. I knew that I couldn't do anything for my dad, so I stayed away. And, at the end of everything, after the wedding, I think the day after the wedding, that's when I left. I hired a car in less than, let's say, morally grey circumstances. I'm not going to go into the specifics or the company, just in case. And I went up and saw my family. Like, you know, I did make clear to everyone it was like an emergency sort of thing. I needed to do this. And it was either that or take a train that would be like a day and a half, or a plane that would be another day and a half and would cost like 5 times more. So I went up, I stayed with my family for an extra day, spoke with them, you know, like I cancelled flights and haven't been refunded them, because the way that they refund flights is they give you a voucher to use on another flight within a year, and guess who hasn't been on a plane in a year for any company, let alone the ones that I had booked with. So I went up, saw them, came back. I was still sort of reeling from all of that, so I didn't really like do much with making videos. I think I did put out 1 or 2 at around about that sort of time. Christmas, I went over Boxing Day, I think it was, 26th of December. I flew out to Nottingham and I met up with Brian and Jessica. We had a wonderful little time in Nottingham, just, you know, going around and chatting and talking about things. And, you know, Brian cooked some of the most amazing food that I've ever actually tasted at the time. Yeah, it was awesome. It was brilliant. And then I came back and I had the best of intentions, and I've got a like, I was looking through, you know, old footage, old projects that I've saved, old videos, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that I did at the beginning of the year and sort of on for a little bit. But, you know, with the pandemic, stress mounting, like, just all of a sudden things getting even worse, even more difficult to deal with, because all of a sudden now the kindergarten that my son goes to gets closed once every 4 days or so, because a child was dropped off at the Kita with a runny nose and a cough. And the you know, us parents aren't meant to do that. We're meant to keep our children home. Or, like, you know, the brother or sister of one of the kids in the kindergarten was ill, and then 3 days later that kid developed symptoms. So then all of a sudden we have to stop all of the teachers going and all the kids from going. And, you know, it's every time I made plans to do anything, everything would go wrong. Essentially, like, everything would go wrong, and there weren't enough hours in the day, and I'd been struggling with, like, motivation and to do anything as well. Yeah, it wasn't a good year for anyone, and it definitely wasn't a good year for actually doing things. Even though I've got all my camera equipment, I've got all my, you know, technology, I should have been able to do everything as I was doing it. I did try and do a couple of live streams, but, you know, my rig isn't good enough for that. I don't think my PC is not the strongest, and internet in Germany isn't particularly wonderful. I have done live streams with Brian and Jessica. We did a Christmas live stream that we planned on doing last year, but we actually managed to do it this year. That was great. I've put up some videos that are nothing to do with whole foods plant-based, which has not exactly cost me people watching or anything. It's very much this odd sort of thing where some people will make it very, very clear that they're only watching for things like this, like the vlog, the talking head sort of thing, where I go through whole food plant-based and talk to you about everything. And some people have made it clear that they actually quite enjoy having, you know, sort of both sides of it, like the fun, interesting things that I do, or I find them interesting anyway, and apparently some other people do too, as well as the whole foods plant-based thing, and trying to be healthy and trying to eat better and lose weight and, you know, just not die before I hit the age of 40. So I don't know, in the grand scheme of things, I sort of came to a decision that I was going to just do what I want to do and post things. I'll try and keep this channel, because it is meant to be whole foods plant-based sort of channel. I will keep this as whole foods plant-based as possible, But, you know, if I'm particularly excited about something, if I want to show off something, I'm going to do it. You know, it's easier putting it on this channel than it is making another one and messing around with all of that. And, you know, there's a surprising amount of admin involved for running a YouTube channel where you don't even have paperwork. Let's put it that way. Certainly more than I thought when I went into it. You know, had visions of editing videos every single day and putting out little 10-15 minute videos, which, I mean, we're already up to like 17-18 minutes on this one if you include the intro, so I tend not to do too well on the whole like short form thing. Anyway, sort of late on last year, I bought myself a computer chair with proper lumbar support, like fully adjustable sort of thing. I spent a very large amount of money on it, including a few ergonomic support sort of things. You know, like a mouse pad that attaches to the arm of the office chair, so I don't actually have to lean forward or put my arms up on a table or anything like that. It's just, you know, sitting in the command throne, let's say, sitting in the captain's chair. So that's actually been wonderful. My back had started getting ridiculously bad, you know, after I'd injured it a couple of years ago lifting my son up. Like, my back just went, and I ended up not being able to walk for like 3 days. That had started getting so aggravated over the last year, that I was having more bad days than good, since I bought this chair and sort of started sitting in it and that sort of thing. I haven't deteriorated. If anything, I'm having more good days where I can actually like move a little bit freer than not, which is wonderful. I'm, you know, hopefully the more weight that I lose as time goes on, the better that it'll get, and the easier it'll be to do some exercises and stretch out and, you know, hopefully sort of heal from that a little bit more. Sort of back end October, November sort of time, I went to my doctor. I said, look, I'm fairly certain I might be depressed. Is there any sort of referral you can give me? I got told to find a psychotherapist. You know, there's a few English speaking ones here in Germany, in Berlin especially. So I found a doctor. I've been talking to her for a little while and working through, well, not exactly working through stuff, just trying to get a handle on things and explaining how I feel about stuff. And I think that's been fairly helpful, actually. You know, sort of running through a whole bunch of things. You know, like, sing it with me if you've heard this one before. Issues of self-worth. You know, that thing that quite a lot of overweight people tend to struggle with. Yeah. So, you know, talking through that sort of thing, that actually helped me out with sort of volunteering, semi-volunteering, being conscripted. Let's put it that way. For a little side project called Artists Empire. Now the guy who actually came up with Artists Empire, you know, takes those little models that I paint, puts them through a program called Procreate. It's very much like, I suppose I should pronounce it Procreate, not Procreate. It's very much like Photoshop and After Effects and that sort of thing, and you can apply a whole bunch of different textures and paintbrushes and tools and airbrushes and all of that sort of thing, and basically make the little tiny models look a little bit more lifelike. Put them in the middle of fields and scenarios that they aren't in, you know. Do different backgrounds, that sort of thing. It's very, very impressive. And he needed a video editor. He wanted to put music on videos, start a YouTube channel, that sort of thing. So I now work for him, doing videos, that sort of thing. And that's been pretty good. I've definitely been struggling with keeping up with it, and just sitting down and actually working and doing stuff. But yeah, it's something. It's a little bit more purpose for my life than I felt that I had for a while, let's say. So yeah, that's where we're at. I have been eating whole foods plant-based, or at least I made an agreement with myself. I was gonna try and just do veganuary. If I had some junk food vegan stuff, that would be better than not, I mean, one of the main things that sort of sabotaged me on whole foods plant-based was when the lockdowns were first sort of being announced and things like that, I sort of looked at the food that we were buying in and the food consumption and stuff like that, and yeah, it's really good eating vegetables and rices and potatoes and pastas and all these things that are staples of the cupboard, but when there's a big rush on people buying them to stock their pantries, and you eat quite as much of it as I did when I was fully whole foods plant-based, it starts becoming this sort of cost benefits analysis of, yes, I am eating better and I'm going to be healthy and I'm going to be around for my family, but I'm costing so much in effort, like leaving the house and going to a store and buying things like 2, 3, 4 times a week, regardless of the planning that I put in, taking up so much space in the fridge for meals that I will eat, but I replace just as quickly. It made more sense to just buy the staples that we could, keep them in the cupboard, and use them sparingly, and everyone just eat what was most common for everyone to eat, which unfortunately was meats and things like that. I'm not, looking back on it, it was the wrong decision. And plenty of people that I talked to about it have definitely pointed out it was probably a silly decision to take, but I don't feel necessarily awful about it. Like, I feel bad about it, but not necessarily awful, because things could so easily have gone wrong, and the supply chain for foods and things could have been interrupted, and honestly that would have been very, very bad for everyone. So I don't think falling on my own sword was too bad of a decision. In hindsight, I could have probably just stayed whole foods plant-based, but at the time, who can tell? But I'm doing better now, apart from some like little bits of chocolate that I've had every now and again across the last, what are we on now, like 20th, so 3 weeks. 3 weeks we've been in January. I've had very, very sparing amounts of chocolate. I've had a couple of beers. I basically sort of went into it saying, look, I just spent the last year not doing what I should do. If I can get through a month without eating meat, and like very, 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 very sparing amounts of like little treats if I want them, then that's fine. That's better than I have done. And then February I can concentrate on going whole foods plant-based properly, going through the 4, 5 cookbooks that I've got, because I bought a fair few and I've been looking through for recipes, and I figure I don't have to be perfect right away. It's the steps towards perfection. Like it's the journey, it's the adventure. And so far, yeah, doing okay. The scale has actually gone down a little bit. Like when I say I had small amounts of chocolate, I mean really, really small amounts of chocolate. That's why the scale's been moving downwards. It's been going good. It's been like little drop, plateau, little drop, plateau, up a little bit because I had a beer, plateau, drop a little bit. So it's working out. It's okay. I've basically given up caffeine pretty much entirely. I have a small glass of orange juice with pulp on a morning, and then after that it's water. Apart from like I've had one big mug of tea, which actually, yeah, I can just kind of show you everything because I've been taking the photographs every single day of every single thing that I've eaten. So you remember when I used to do this? Here we go. Here's the very condensed run through of everything that I've been eating. Hopefully, I don't have to stand over here too much and try and fill time. It's been good. It's been quite nice to just cook things again. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am not a chef. I am not Brian from Crocs in the Kitchen. I'm not Chuck. I'm not Brittany. Chuck from Brand New Vegan. Brittany from the Drudy family. I'm none of these people. I am not a cook. I can throw things in a pan, and if it comes out even halfway tasty, I call it a win. Following recipes is actually quite hard for me. So I have got things like these little mashed potato pots, noodle cups. I've got some McDougal soups that Brian and Jessica sent me. Like just things that I can throw together in like 5 minutes if needs be, because sometimes I just cannot bring myself to do great amounts of work. I'm actually managing okay with that. I'm doing all right. We've had two takeouts. I assume you can call it two takeouts. There was a McDonald's trip because my wife specifically asked for McDonald's, so I was like, right, okay, well, there's a vegan option. I'll get that because I haven't cooked anything. Go with that. And there was a burger place that she wanted to go to. I think it was like fried chicken that she wanted. And there's very, very rare fried chicken places in Berlin. So I stuck with the vegan option for that as well. And yeah, it's been fine. Could be better. There's room to improve. But we're getting there. We're doing all right. Or I'm doing all right anyway. And now hopefully, the world will calm down a little bit. Hopefully 2021 is going to be just that little bit better. I guess we'll see. I have every hope that it will be. I have no idea whether or not it will. I'm fully prepared for disappointment and everything to go horrifically wrong, because why wouldn't you? But yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay, and I'm hoping that this year is going to be better for everyone. I know it's going to take a very, very long time to get back to any semblance of what we were doing before. People meeting up and going to restaurants and hugging one another and visiting different countries whenever you wanted to and all things like that. Or at least, the majority of us that are actually like wearing masks and social distancing and all of these different things that people have been asking us to do, medical professionals have been asking us to do. All the ones that have been doing that, hopefully we get to stop at some point this year, in spite of people not caring, in spite of people calling a global pandemic a hoax. All of that has made me laugh, by the way. Like, yes, okay, so if it is a hoax, how did every single government on the planet come together to agree that one particular person was bad enough to force every person on this planet to do what they did and kill hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people? Yeah. there is a lot of reading and a lot of very heavy subjects that I think people need to engage with going forward. And as much as I try to keep up with things, as much as I consider myself fairly appraised and fairly, up to date on things, I'm not. I'm nowhere near as up on things as I should be. And I talked with my therapist and I made a decision that regardless of everything that happened in the world, I was going to start making videos again, and I was going to talk through things, and I was going to use what little platform I have to try and talk with people about stuff. And hopefully, you are people that agree with me on certain issues, Hopefully it goes without saying for most of you that Black Lives Matter just as much as every other life does, and we shouldn't allow this horrific stuff to continue where Black lives aren't treated as if they matter just as much as everyone else's. We don't have right-wing racist bigots spouting conspiracy theories across the world, not just America or Britain or anything like that. Hopefully we can stamp out just people being horrible to each other and claiming that certain people are subhuman or not worth time or praise or food. In trans lives are just as important. Trans rights are human rights. If you don't think that trans people should exist, then I've got very, very bad news for you that they do. And people will point out, oh well, there's so many more now than there were. Yes, because it's more acceptable for people to explore gender and life and identity and stuff without fear of being murdered for it. And they're still murdered for it. There's so much horrible stuff going on in the world. Can we not just let people be that little bit happy and live as they want to? I really hope that we all sort of have a consensus on that. I really do. Or if we don't, that we can, sort of come to one. If me talking about stuff helps with any of that in any way, fantastic. I'm going to do my very level best to amplify voices that I can without becoming just a megaphone or an outlet for that sort of thing. Don't get me wrong, this channel is mainly going to be me and my stuff, but if there is, I resolved that if there were worldly events, if there were very, very newsworthy events that everyone was talking about, I wasn't going to shy away from them or not post a video in case it interfered with that. I was going to try and provide a little bit of a harbour where people could potentially avoid a story or happenings, or we could talk about it in hopefully a way that people understand and that people will feel safe talking about. This got awfully heavy all of a sudden, didn't it? Right. Yeah, long story short, haven't been posting videos because there's been a lot of horrible things going on in the world, and a lot of horrible things going on in life, and a lot of stress and pain and anger and frustration, and none of that has gone away. But talking about it helped. And hopefully talking about more of it will help more. And it's kind of nice having a little routine where I get up and I brush my teeth and I weigh myself and I make food and I take my B12 and vitamin D tablets and sort of live my life with my son and like make more food and heat things up, and it's more care that I've taken for myself than I have in a very long time, let's say, and hopefully I can keep on track with that. And if I can't, then I can tell you about it. And yeah, okay. I've never been very good at ending these, so I'm gonna say thank you very much for watching. I'm really sorry it was like, nearly 40 minutes long. I'm gonna try and cut out little bits, I guess, but yeah, hopefully you're well. You're well, your families and friends are well. Hopefully whatever stress you have going on in your life isn't overwhelming, or if it is, you have outlets. Yeah. Right. Here's to 2021 being better. I will see you in the next video. I don't know when it's going to be. I think I might aim for one a week at first and move up from there. But I don't know. We'll see. So, have a good one. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.